Hey everybody, my name's Yvette Kelly Fields. I am the creative behind Diary of a Nonprofit Boss. And I'm also the author of The 5 Coaches Every Nonprofit Executive Needs. Look at that. Every nonprofit executive needs for success and leadership in life. I have created this channel as an opportunity, one, to talk about my book, why I wrote the book, and then from there talk about and hopefully get a chance to engage some of the coaches that I feature in this book. This whole channel is dedicated to helping support nonprofit executive directors who have found themselves working in the nonprofit field and trying to learn how to properly navigate it to be successful. There are some people who are nonprofit leaders and it's been easy. You took the job and it's just been a joy the whole time. You really haven't ran into any problems or issues. Any problems and issues you ran into were solvable. This is not a channel for you because you're good. But if you're a person like I'm a nonprofit executive director and it's been challenging, it's challenging around raising money, it's challenging around managing the board, it's challenging around delivering program, managing staff, just all types of challenges. And you've used every resource you've had or the resource that seemed to be available to you, and you find yourself just struggling. You talk to other nonprofit executive directors, and sometimes they don't have anything better. They're struggling too. They can't share. And because of what you're going through as a nonprofit executive director, it's impacting other aspects of your life. It's not just the day-to-day work that's impacted, but there's impact to your health because you feel a lot of stress. Impact to relationships because you might be coming home just tired and wore out from the day, and you're not in the mood to do something with your partner. You're not in the mood to do stuff with your kids, or you're squeezing everything in. So even when you're there, you don't seem very present because you're tired or your mind is someplace else. And that can put some strain on relationships. Financially, depending on what salary you're making, you may have said yes to a job because you believed in the mission, you believed in the work, and you were willing to go with a different level of a salary. But this work has just become such that you're like, man, this work requires, it needs to be paid more. And then on top of that, I'm expected to understand how to run the financials of the organization at a level that I've never done before. I'm good with money. I might be good with my own money, or I might not be the best with my own money. But it's mine. I can take care of me. Now I'm talking about the whole organization and how a whole organization is impacted. That could be overwhelming. And then all of that stress, relationship, the work, the financial weighs down on your spirit. It weighs down on your spirit. And you could just feel very frustrated. And all those things are usually what leads to burnout, which is why they talk about how when it comes to executive directors, particularly of nonprofits where they have, particularly of nonprofits where the budget is under $5 million, it can just be stressful. It could be stressful even for larger nonprofits, but larger nonprofits usually have more resources, more stability, more methods to manage things, more people to help. But when you're 5 million and under, and especially if you're 1 million and under, which is the vast majority of nonprofits are $1 million or less, vast majority. You have a smaller staff. Your support is not always as strong. Your board is not always as experienced, and that can just compound things. So I wrote this book from what I experienced as an executive director, who's very experienced around the world of fundraising. I've been in the fundraising field for 20 plus years. I've done fundraising for a number of nonprofits, and I had already been a nonprofit executive director once before I stepped into a new role as a nonprofit executive director some years ago. And I came into that, but it was 5 times larger than the previous organization I was the ED for. And while I was very well equipped to raise money, I was not as equipped as I thought I was. I really thought I was. But I realized about year 3, there are certain things that just started happening that presented a challenge that I was not equipped to deal with. I thought I was dealing with it great, but some things just changed on me, particularly people that I expected to move a certain way, support me in a certain way, help me in a certain way, They not only did not help me, they actively worked against me because there was something else they wanted to accomplish. And that really was tough. It was tough. And I've talked to enough executive directors now. I talked to a few then, but I've definitely, since I've transitioned into other roles, I've talked to enough EDs now. And then in my coaching work, which I'll talk about a bit more in a minute, I have now had enough experience to know what was happening to me was not an unusual situation. But if you've never been in that situation before and you reach for help from your mentors or from the circle you had when you took the job, you'll find out that sometimes they're like, they'll say, I have not had that experience. Or the way so-and-so responded to you, I never had that response from that person. So they don't always know, they don't know how to help you. They're just like, they give you the best advice they can give you. But I will tell you, which is a really tough period. Tough to the point where it's like, maybe I done made a mistake. And that was a bad feeling to have because I had been so successful the first few years in the role that to get to this point, it's just like, what just happened to me? I'm like, I got 3 degrees. I'm well liked. I know the nonprofit world really well. But I just learned when you become an executive director, there are things that you will encounter that even if you were the board chair for a nonprofit, even if you were the second in charge, even if you were spending an immense amount of time with the executive director of a nonprofit, you was like the deputy director, the director of development, you sat in a senior level role and you felt like I know how to run a nonprofit by proximity to leadership, by having been around people who did it. I mean, I've watched them, and I have enough of my own experience. I believe I can get in here and do the job and I can learn. When you get in the seat and you've never been an executive director before, you may say, wow, there was things I never observed from here. I never saw that as a board chair. I never saw that as the deputy director, the director of development. I heard conversations, we had talks, but the ED always seemed to find a way through. So you thought, I'll find a way through. You learn that the ED probably did 2 things that allowed them to find their way through. They either had a really great mentor who acted like a coach, who worked with them and parroted them through a situation, or they went and got a coach. And when you are a nonprofit ED of a small nonprofit, and when I say small, usually one that's $1 million or less, or even maybe $2 million or less, coaching is not something that people encourage you to get. They just don't. Business people are encouraged to get coaches almost immediately. There is no end of what business people get in terms of leadership development, even when they don't really have a business. And I know part of that is because in the for-profit world, coaching is highly valued. It's highly valued for how it can help you build your business, scale your business, and drive revenue. And the idea is that, well, the money that founder can get, the founder is going to invest in themselves to build a profitable business. So the founder will use their credit card to pay for training. The founder will start their business and use what revenue they got in from the business for professional development. And in that professional development, there is built-in coaching. Many business people who get serious about starting a business will get a business coach, and that's how they figure out and scale. And that goes beyond just a mentor or people who open the door. They have layers. In the nonprofit world, because of how nonprofits are shaped and molded, you don't get that. That is not a priority. You're literally, in many cases, again, especially for nonprofits, you're hired to come in and just hit the ground running. The expectation is that you already have the experience. That's why they hired you. They paid you the best salary they felt like they had. And when I say they, I'm talking about the board. You accepted it. And sometimes you accepted it thinking that you knew what you was walking into. Then you get in there and you're like, this is way different. There's financials I wasn't aware of. I didn't read the 990s prior to taking the job because I didn't know how to read them anyway. They told me I had a finance person. So I felt like, okay, I can work with the finance person. I didn't understand that I need to have some level of financial acumen. I didn't understand. I thought the staff was very solid. I walk in the door, 2 or 3 staff members are leaving. I find out that the staff is not the greatest staff. They were great for the last ED. They're no good for me. Just a innumerable amount of things that happen, and you're not offered any support outside of maybe if you have a good board chair or a good board that will guide you. But in a lot of cases, people come in and the board's like, woo, we got you now. And, you know, they'll do their monthly meetings and they'll do their part to some degree, but you can feel very much so on your own with no guide. And I say to people that when I found myself in that situation, and it was said to my board chair, you know, Yvette's really struggling, and I think she's going to screw up some stuff. If you don't get her a coach, you know, we feel like, you know, and this is the person talking to my board chair, we feel like we may not be able to continue on in a partnership with you all. I mean, that's really what the words were coming down to. It was other words, but at the basis of it was, she needs to get it together. And I will tell you, when that was said to me, I was insulted by it. I'm like, I have 3 degrees. I have raised millions of dollars. I have led capital campaigns. I have done some amazing things. I've been told I'm amazing. Like, people have told me this by funders, a number of people. So I was just like, what are you talking about? I need a coach. I mean, I really believe, like, what more? I have sat under some amazing executive directors. I just think I had gotten all the information I could ever get. I was very, 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 very wrong. I was 100% wrong. And if I had been foolish and prideful, I might have just ignored that and just say, I'm just gonna figure it out. And I had talked to a couple of mentors who had kind of gave me some advice about how I could deal with the situation I was dealing with. The advice didn't feel, it was solid for them. It didn't feel solid for me. And so it's just like, you know, I just literally humbled myself. And in the book, I talk about, like, you know, I went to church and Bible class, and it just like helped me to, like, you got to get beyond this. Humble yourself. Get a coach. Now, did anybody offer to pay for the coach? Did anybody recommend any coaches? No, I had to go find a coach, and I had to look within our agency budget to pay for the coach. But when I tell you, it was the single best investment I made in my life. I do not like the circumstances by which it came, but I have to say that doing that changed a lot of things. And it didn't change things in the way of, well, yeah, we got to keep this, and the person who said it and all that. That situation continued to be what it was. Coaching did not change that situation per se. Coaching changed me. And it changed how I moved and how I saw things. It changed how I responded to things. It's like you're responding in a manner around a nonprofit thinking. Like, you know, collaborative, if we talk, if I do this and I do that, you know, I was trying to figure out how to fix it, versus like you need to respond in a very much more business focused aspect. You need to pull out the contract. You need to do certain things operationally so that the attacks that are coming at you that are unfounded, they're able to do it because there's certain things you just don't have in order, and you didn't know you need to have them in order. But now you know. You need to get that stuff together. You need to be better. And that was just what it came to. It's like what you had walking in the door is not enough to keep you in this door. You have to level up your skills because you're playing in a different arena. And if you want to do well, this is what it's going to take. That's what coaching did for me. And taking that advice from a coach that I had made all the difference in how I approached not only that situation, but every situation after that, because that was just one. I don't go into all the other situations. I just focus on that one because after I got the coaching, then I found my way to deal with the other ones. And then eventually I found people calling me like, hey, you seem like you figured it out. Help me. And that moved me to say, okay, I'm going to move out of being an executive director. I'm going to go back to my first love, which is fundraising. I love raising money. I love, love, love doing that. I'm going to move back into fundraising because an opportunity came to me to do that. And then I'm going to go into coaching and helping other executive directors. Because by the time I got done as an executive director, things were good, money was good, relationships were good, staff was good, everything was great. But I tell you, it was a really crazy couple of years that I would not have gotten through if I did not have coaching. And even now, as I have my own coaching business, I have coaches. And that's what this book is about, 5 coaches. Because when I talked to you earlier, 5 areas of your life are impacted. Your spirit is impacted. Your relationships are impacted. Your health is impacted. Your finances are impacted. And all that impact comes from how you're impacted professionally. You need somebody to help you all along the way. And it doesn't mean that you have to physically have somebody. But I tell people, you have to be thinking about every day, How do I nourish my body and keep it healthy? How do I make sure I keep my finances in some kind of control personally? And if I'm in charge of budgets, I need to learn how to understand my budgets. I need to understand my money. I need to get real clear about cash flow and where money comes in and how money goes out and all the lines of streams of income. I need to be real clear. You don't just leave that to somebody else. It can't be, well, the development director got that, the CFO has it. You need to have it too. So you need to have some financial literacy for your own finances and that of the organization. You definitely need to make sure you maintain great relationships. You need a community of support because it can be tough, and you need to learn how to not take everything home and wreck your home because things are crazy at work. And then just talking about how you continue to develop yourself professionally, not just in learning how to do it for your social service organization, but also learning how to build your own skills. So if one day I can go coach somebody, or I might find that I love being executive director, but I really love this aspect of nonprofit work, and I think I could build a career. I can do my executive director job, wrap that up, and then I can go do a career as a thought leader. I can go here and I can go there. There's more to it. I want you to take the executive director role that you're working in, and I want you not to burn out. I want you to, or flame out. I want you to thrive. I want you to be the best executive director you can be, and then you leave on your own terms, and you're able to leave the nonprofit better than you found it, and then you're able to go on and build a great career in whatever else you want to do. And I want you to be able to have all the things going for you. I don't want you to be in an ED role talking about I hate it and it's horrible. I don't want you to have that. The world needs nonprofits, but the world needs more great leaders for nonprofits. So that's why I wrote my book, The 5 Coaches. And I'm going to read bits and pieces out of my book because, I own my book. It's illegal to do that with other people's books. You can read an excerpt from other people's book, but you can't read their whole book. I'm going to read chunks of my book every day. And I'm going to be posting it. And I'm going to put it on my YouTube. And I'm going to post it on my Facebook. So you can just start to get familiar with what's being said. And if you like what you're hearing in the book, I'm going to always put a link every day for you to purchase the book. But I wanted to create this video so you understand why I even wrote the book. And then my goal over time is to start to have conversations with the coaches that I talk about in this book, to share more about what they're seeing out there in the landscape, how their work helps EDs. Because ultimately, if you're looking for help in a coach, I want to help you find them, or at least want to give you guidelines, because the world of nonprofits is dramatically shifted and it's changed a lot. And anybody who's going to be a nonprofit executive director who wants to do it well, who wants to be effective, they're going to have to get some level of training and coaching. And then they're going to have somebody help them implement. It's no longer enough to go to a training, come back, put a book on the shelf and be like, I'll get to that, or we don't have the... You can't do that anymore. You're literally going to have to really educate yourself about running a nonprofit. And it's more than getting a degree. It's more than getting a certificate. It's getting somebody to help you, to show you how to walk you through implementing as you go, so that you can really thrive the way you believed you could or thought you could when you first became the ED, or if you started your own nonprofit. I want you to be successful. And if you're a person who is looking for a coach, you're a nonprofit executive director, I am here to help coach you, particularly around fundraising or just general nonprofit leadership. I'm here for you. But you can start with just watching this and watching each one and taking the value from it that you see. So thank you for listening in, and we'll connect again tomorrow.